Almost there. Yep, it looks like we are starting up. So if you're watching a recording, do fast forward a few minutes here. Let's see, I don't know why. I think it stopped for a second there. We'll see. Okay. There we are. Okay, so here we are. Looks like Facebook has connected to QTalk. Let's see if it connects to the other one. But let's see, we're going to fast forward 3 minutes from this point if you're watching a recording. And I'm just getting everything finished up and almost ready to go here. Excited for today's project. Lots of things going on. Let's see, some solder. What else do I need today? Oh, shoot. I lost my ring mandrel along the way. Did I leave it upstairs, babe? I'll be right back. What? Oops. Hey, Linda. So, hey, did you like that stone that you got? Was it as promised? Was it eye clean as promised? So, found my ring mandrel. Yay! Indeed it is. So glad. Because see, I have another one here. Huh. Pretty excited. Yeah, I thought that these stones came in really, really pretty and really clean, which is great. Let me know if you want more for the future. I'll probably order from them again. It came straight out of India. So we're going to start here in another minute for those of you who are just joining in. Andy says we're good. He's connected to everything and verified where we are. Woohoo! So, actually, it doesn't even have to be oval, and just let me know. It can be other things too. Okay. Hello, Facebook user. So if you are following along on Facebook, I can't see who you are. So if you say hi Q, I see hi from Facebook user. So yeah, you'll have to tell me who you are because we are simulcasting on 4 different channels. Everything gets truncated on my side. So hello, everyone. All right, that said, it's 1 o'clock. Today is Wednesday, February 24th, week 49 and a half. And today is the 16th project in our step-by-step surprise project. We're simulcasting, as I mentioned a little bit ago, on 4 channels on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Facebook. So if you want to keep up with what's going on and you're finding what you're seeing intriguing the last few weeks, do come over to the Facebook group page, QTalk, and you can find all the details there. For today and for every live video, Andy does post all of the links into the chat. So if there's anything that you want to purchase from theurbanbeater.com, the links are there. And also you can find the kits and the class schedule there too. So that said, okay. So step-by-step surprise. If you have not joined in on a step-by-step surprise, I'm especially excited about today because you know what? Sometimes, even though the projects are really simple, they're really great projects. At least I think so. We'll go with that. And it's going to be a really, really cool result as far as I'm concerned. And a step-by-step surprise means that you don't know what you're getting when you ordered the kit. And the only clues that you have are in the materials list. I'm sorry, not even in the materials list, in the tools list and the name. So it will, again, it'll tell you what you're making. Maybe it's an indicator of a ring or not because there's a ring mandrel. And although there was a ring mandrel on the tools list time, we are not making a ring. Yup. So for those of you who did not buy a kit, I don't give all the details because that's part of the deal, is you get the details and the instructions if you buy the kit. Otherwise, you'll just have to guess and follow along. There are still 3 kits available if you are interested. You're going to find out by the end of today what it's going to pretty much look like. So today, it's a 2-parter. So today we're going to go through the structure, and then next week we'll do the finishing and make it look really pretty. Okay, so what are you going to need for the project today? You'll need a chasing hammer, a leather mallet, a ring mandrel. That's sort of optional, okay, on the ring mandrel. You can use a 1/2-inch dowel rod if you prefer, you know, something like this, or if you don't have a ring mandrel. So it's a way to go. There's lots of little different approaches, and you'll see why here in a second. You're going to need a metal file because we're using metal and we need to file these edges down. And I'm going to also keep a needle file out. A ruler is also helpful today. But definitely you're going to want these bad boys if you don't want a saw. So these are heavy duty Kiba cutters. They're my favorites, as you know, because it cuts through this really, really heavy gauge wire. So that would be helpful. What we have in the kit is, you probably have one long piece here of very heavy gauge sterling silver wire. You also got some copper in there. If you're wondering why you got the copper when you didn't order the copper kit, it's to practice on. So you might want to just do a little practice run before you jump into the silver, because there is a little bit of room here for your own little design in this, in that you can make it a little bit bigger, you can make it a little bit smaller if you want to, you can give it a little slightly different flair if you want to. It also came with a setting and a really pretty stone and a jump ring. Okay, so if anybody's wondering about sizes, remember I don't give out sizes unless you have purchased the kit. All right, so let's jump in. First things first. So the metal that you got should be fairly soft, right? It was purchased as dead soft, but if you find that it is too hard for you to work with, make sure you anneal it. I'll go through annealing here in a second, but we'll start with these. So you want to cut these in 2.5-inch pieces. So about there. I had some scrap, and mine is approximately 2.5 inches, so I'm just going to go with that. So basically you'll cut it in half, the piece that you have, okay? And then you're going to bend this in half, with one side being a little, I say in half, so not in half, but you're going to bend this so that one side is a little longer than the other, about 1/4 inch, okay? So you'll have to eyeball this. But frankly, and I'm using my nylon nose pliers so I don't mar it, whatever it takes to bend this, okay? Now, I'm probably not going to get to that 1/4 inch, but this is too long anyway, and we're going to adjust this back. So I'm not so worried about it. But you do want one side to be longer than the other. And I'll bend the other one. Again, just eyeballing this. It's heavy. It's really, really heavy. There we go. Okay. So once you get this to the hairpin, we're going to make it really tight down. Oops. I know what you all are thinking. You're thinking, if I'm struggling with it, you're going to too, and that's probably true. So notice how I'm holding that on the end, and I'm just making it tighter. You see that? And I'm using my leather mallet to do this. You know, I'm going to pull out my bigger one. It'll make work a lot easier. There we go. And it's going to get really hard here. So at this point is where I'll anneal it. You might have had to have annealed this before. Okay. Okay, there we are. So it's not moving. Like, you see how it's crossed over? It's not going to move back. It really needs to be annealed. So we'll just put it in here. And of course, you know, I didn't mention, but because we are soldering today, you will need to have a solder setup. Your pickle pot, your fire tweezers, a quench bowl, and some solder, and of course a torch. So here I'm just going to anneal this really well. Don't melt it, but you want a nice long anneal, and you'll know it when you start seeing color changes like that. And you want to hear a good quench. Okay, that should be good for now. All right, set that aside. Let's do a little bit more. So make sure you dry it. For those of you who have a steel bench block as opposed to a aluminum bench block, you really want to make sure that you dry off your metal, because if you have it wet, it's going to make your bench block rust, which is not good. Okay, so here we are. It's a little twisted, and I'm going to flatten that out. Okay, so for those of you who got the kit, remember it's a surprise project. Instructions will come later today. So you got, just make sure you were ready. You got your materials list and your what am I thinking? Tools list. So right after I'm done, remember it's a surprise. Oops. So I'm just bringing it down to make it even tighter. And you can see the hairpin is coming together. Let's zoom in a little bit. You see that? See how tight that is? Okay. And as soon as it starts springing back or getting work hardened, anneal it again. And a lot of people like to pickle in between this process of annealing, and then they work on it. If you know me, you know I'm way too lazy to be doing that. So I don't pickle in between just because I'm lazy. So I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to anneal this one more time and go from there. So what you're looking for, again, you're looking for some color changes. You don't want this bright red because you don't want to reticulate the silver. Just a good anneal like that. I know I'm off the camera, sorry. Okay, and you want to hear a nice quench. I don't know if you guys can hear it when I quench, but it does give a little nice sizzle there. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pickle that because you'll see it a little bit better because there's no contrast to my bench block. Okay. Nice hot pickle. Oh, it worked really fast today. I don't know why sometimes it pickles really fast and sometimes it takes its sweet time, but here we are. And here we are. Okay, so I'm just going to move this in just a little bit more. Do you see that? It has a little bit of a warp. Let's see if I can get that down just a little bit. Being a little bit anal retentive about this because this is going to be, I think this pendant is going to be a little bit more on the high end looking, so I'd like it to be really tight. In process, that is. Okay. Go. Okay, so now that you have the hairpins, we're going to go ahead and chase the ends about 1/8 of an inch, okay? And you want to chase it flat to about half of the thickness of your wire. It's going to take a couple minutes. Go have a cigarette. Or something. So I'm flipping it over back and forth to make sure I'm creating a really even hammering flatness. Okay, so when I hammered it, it started coming apart, so I'm going to help it out a little bit, and I'm going to push it down a little bit more, again, like so. And I'll do the other one. Okay, there we are. So to about half the thickness, yeah, we're pretty much there. I'm going to do this one a little bit more here. So when you're chasing, you want to make sure that you're holding your hammer nice and flat. You don't want to dip it like this, because if you start hammering at an angle, you're going to create little tiny dinks in it. It's a look. Okay, so now that this is really nice and hard and there's nothing you're going to be able to do with that, we're going to anneal it again. Okay, make sure you get that end annealed really well, because that's where it's really hard. And we're going to spread this apart. We're going to split this out. Remember, this wire is so heavy that it's going to fight you a lot. Okay, where are my tweezers? Okay, so I'm quenching, throwing it right into the pickle, because we're going to need to solder pretty soon, so might as well pickle it now. Set a couple things aside here. If you don't have a heavy duty cutter, by the way, you could have sawed the pieces, okay? All right. Here we are. Nice and clean. Okay, so now you're going to take these pieces and you're going to pull them. You see that? We're going to pull them going in opposite directions, like so. Cool, right? It makes a wishbone of sorts. So we're going to do it like that. Not too far. I think I went too far with this one. Bring it in just a little bit. So let's see. About an inch, no more than. I think I want a little bit smaller. Okay, and then we can pull out our mandrel. And on the long side, we're going to wrap it around the smallest end. You, again, might not be able to do this. Actually, we're going to, you see that? Okay, we're going to bring it around. You might not be able to do this with your hands, and if you can't, that's not a problem, okay? Just take out your mallet and hit on it. See? It'll come together. And then push this in, like so, okay? So we're making a wishbone, really. It's what this is gonna look like. And I'm using the smallest part that I can. Now, if you're fighting with, or if you don't like the mallet, I'm sorry, the mandrel, you can put it around, you can also put it around a dowel rod, right? If you have a dowel rod. Oh. So Alexander, looks like my man-child has joined us this morning. Asks, how far can you bend before it breaks? I don't know. Don't tempt me. I will try. So Andy says to Alexander, come home and try. Don't you owe us a visit sometime soon? I'll let you play in the studio if you come home. Nothing like having a family moment, right? Live. Hi, everybody. It's my man-child. Okay, so I'm doing the second piece. So you want both of them, and you want these to be symmetrical. Okay? I'm going to put this down here. This short piece doesn't want to come around, so I'm just going to put it on my bench and work it around like so. Okay, so, but the truth is that the question is legit, as funny as he's trying to be. It is, don't go too far, because of course you'll break it, right? Because everything has a limit. And this is no different. All right, so you want to make two pieces that are pretty much the same, all right? And then what you're going to do is decide which side is going to be shorter, which side is going to be longer. I'm going to go ahead and cut this side and make sure that you're symmetrical. So I'm just going to cut this just a little bit and angle to the inside because I know where I'm going. You might not, but that's okay because here's where we're heading. So you can see it's a little shorter. I can tell you it's already too long, but by the way, hang on to your scrap because you can make other things with it, right? During VEC, we have a class called Fuse Scrap Bracelet. Okay, so you see, this is where we're going with it. We're going to invert it, right? So we're working in opposites. And then, actually, before we move on, I forgot. So you have your setting. Some of you have a jump ring on your setting. That's not a big deal. Take out your cutter and just cut it off. Okay, just like that. Where am I going with this? And then we're going to file that down just a little bit. If you left a burr, no one's going to see it, so you don't have to do it particularly well, but you do want to file that down just a little bit. Like so. And if you want, you can use your needle file instead if that's a little bit easier. Just use your needle file and file that. Again, some of you have that jump ring. Not everybody has that little jump ring on the setting. Okay. So next up, what's going to happen here is we're going to put this piece in the middle. That's basically the design. So you want these two pieces to be the same size. I can tell you right now, clearly I am off and not exactly the same. Let's see, there we are. This one needs to be bent a little bit more. So I'm just going to play around with it just a little bit and bend it. Now, if this piece is too big for you, cut it down, okay? It is a pendant, and if you want to make earrings, this translates really well into earrings. Go a little bit thinner on the gauge, because this is a little too heavy for a pair of earrings. All right, cutters. I'm going to cut this down just a little bit too. Would it help if I marked my mandrel? Yes, marking your mandrel keeps things really, really precise. As you can tell, I'm not that precise. Remember, I'm a big eyeballer. I eyeball like everything. And I just want to make this really, really symmetrical. Okay. So one side should be longer than the other. Not doing too well on that, am I? Let's see which one's which. Nope. Okay, why can't I get this to be? Sorry, I don't know why this happens to me every so often. So we're gonna cut this a little bit shorter. And I'm gonna bend this a little bit more. I want this one to just sort of come in more than that longer side. So. Okay. I'm going to invert it so that it's working in opposites, and then this piece will land on the inside. Again, this is where you can vary your piece however you want this to go. You can have it going in this direction, like so, okay? Or you can have it in this direction. Up to you. I'm gonna go this way. I find that this is going to be a little bit too big. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see that. So it's a hair too big. So I'm gonna trim it down just a little bit more. And this is part of the process, you know, you sort of just play with it until you get to the size that you want. Let's see. Just really want this to be more even. Shape is slightly off to each other. This one's a little wider than this one, so I'll fix that. And I want this curve to be a little bit more curvy, the short one. Again, just a design preference, right? Just like so. Okay. So the short sides are facing each other, and then this goes in between, just like that. So in the end, this is coming out at about 2 inches, 2 inches long, 1 3/4 is about where I'm at. Can't say I love it. I want this a little smaller, so I'm going to continue to cut this a little bit. Wait, but now that I have my shape and I'm cutting it, let's cut it. Make sure that when you're cutting it to the angle that you need. And what I mean by that is, you see, this is where my setting is going to be, and I want this to come and hug this setting. So I want to make sure I cut this at that same angle, right? So then there's less filing and less work to do later. At least try to make it as close as I can, like so. And you see how this one here, let's see, come in a little closer for you. You see this side over here, it's not touching properly. So let's go ahead and cut that angle too. And I wanted it shorter anyway. Just a little bit more over here. Like that. See, that should be a little bit better. Like so. Okay. Good. And then we'll cut it again. I'm eyeballing that, okay? because this is such a heavy piece of metal, the scraps are fairly large. Don't throw them away, really. The price of silver, has anybody noticed, is up to $28 this week. So save it and turn it in. Go ahead. So the question is, do I have a finished version nearby? No, because it's a surprise project. You got to wait and see what it is. Okay. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going to place this back. You know, even this is a design if you like it that way. You obviously have to bring it in a little bit closer to make it work. But okay, so that said, I do have to bring it in closer because I cut up. I'm going to do it by bending, okay? So I'm just going to bend these in just a little bit. So again, if you're finding this interesting, there's three more kits available. Only stone choices left is green amethyst, amethyst, and citrine. Citrine is this one right now. And I don't know if you were here early on, Linda had taken a citrine one, and I had mentioned during a Zoom that it was eye clean, which means that when you're looking at it without putting it under a loop, it is clean. So, and she said she was pretty happy with her piece. Makes me happy. If you can't bend this, anneal it again, because slowly but surely it is getting work hardened, right? Turn this to the angle I want. So close. So close. There we are. Okay, so I'm still have a tiny little gap there. Okay, let's check for length. It has gotten a little bit shorter. I'm going to turn this in instead of pulling it apart. I'm going to anneal this again, okay, because it's not wanting to bend anymore. So we'll anneal that. It'll make this a lot easier here to bend. So remember, don't fight your metal, okay? Just anneal it. Annealing should be your friend. There. So you can see really quickly where we're going with this project. This is pretty much the pendant, right? So I'm just going to really play around with where I want this. Okay, so yeah, it's really, really, really close. So now I'm going to go ahead and file this end down so that it comes tight, and then I'll file a little bit on that end too. If you're doing a lot of filing, go ahead and use your large student file. But if you're doing just a little bit, and you take a little tiny bit off, use your needle file. I like to feel my metal, checking for burrs. Aha, you see how tight that came in? This one over here looks pretty good. Let's see, there we are. So this one's okay. I'm going to go ahead and fix that one right now. Let's take a look. Hold on a second. It's wet. It's annoying me. Sorry. You probably couldn't have even seen that, but it was annoying me. There we go. So you want to try to keep it symmetrical. That's always nice. Okie dokie. So this one is not touching on the left side. So we'll make a little adjustment there. So how are we going to adjust? So you need to identify what it is that you need to adjust to make that happen. Do you need to adjust the cut? Do you need to adjust the bend? It could be a little bit of both. It looks like I have a little bit of both going on. Okay, so then I'll bring it in just a hair. There we are. Wow. I love my tweezers for adjusting little parts like so. Now you got to make sure that when you're working this, that all these ends are touching or else it won't solder, right? Say it, right. So close. Yes, I'm being a little particular about this, but you have to be, or else it's not going to work. So you have two choices at this point, okay? You have the choice of either soldering it now like this, and then putting this on and soldering it, or you can solder it all in one shot. I was going to solder it all together in one shot, but now I'm feeling like I want to do this in two. I change up every time I do this, and you know, you should be flexible enough with your work that you make decisions as you go, right? You need to decide what's easiest for you. Okay, so what I'm looking at right now, what's bothering me? What's bothering me is that it's not as symmetrical as I would like it to be. It's because you can see that this side is not as long as this side. So I need to go back and identify which one I need adjusting and why. So there. Okay, the curves are slightly different. So we'll fix that. And you know, the more time you spend in refining these pieces and these tiny little moves that I'm making is where that is the difference between me as a technician and someone else, right? And that's how, you know, the design might be nice, but if you do not execute well, it will show up. So take the time out to figure that out. Trust me, it'll pay off in the end. Okay, I need to, you know what, I'm going to pull out my honeycomb. The honeycomb, because it's on a grid, helps me look at things symmetrically, right? Make sure that I'm on the same plane. And it holds things in place so nicely, like so. Okay, so if I'm on this line, I need this to come this way. So this needs to be bent in a little bit more to make that work. Again, small, tiny little adjustments, okay? There we are. Much better. So, pretty darn happy with that. Let's put that in there. Can you see that? Not bad. Okay, so what other adjustments do I need to make? Let's see. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and solder it because I like where things are and it's a nice connection. Actually, so this one right here is not touching. Look, I can put my tweezers through there. So I'm going to bend it in just a little bit more and then I'm going to solder it in 2 steps instead of 1. I'm starting to feel like that's the easier way to go. Well, hello, Alabama and the Ukraine. Nice of you to come by and visit my Twitch today. There we go. Okay, so you want to make sure it's nice and even and tight. There we are. Yep, pretty happy with that. Okay, I'll adjust this one actually after I have it soldered. So you'll go ahead and use, because it's the first step, you're going to go ahead and use a little bit of hard solder on each end, okay? So I'll put some down there and I'll put some on there. You can use whatever kind of solder you want, meaning you can pick solder this. I'm using paste today. You can also use chip if you prefer. On projects like this, I love using paste because it makes life so much easier. There we go. I'm being really particular today because this project in the end is going to be this really like fine jewelry project. So I want all my joints to be really nice and tight, and meaning pretty. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and solder that. We'll heat the whole thing. Everybody gets nice and happy hot. Even down here, and then we'll heat right over the joint. Again, hit that joint. There it goes. And then we'll do this one. Okay, didn't do it. It wasn't touching as much as I wanted it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. Can you see that? It wasn't touching. Okay, so I'll pickle that real quick and then I'll adjust it and do it one more time. So we have a very pretty day out today. It's really nice and sunny, which makes the snow glisten. We still have a ton of snow, but it's melting. I feel there's spring coming. Heard the birds today again. You know, it's always exciting to hear birds out there. Signs of spring. And I know a lot of you are seeing the post on Vienna. So Metal Immersion Vienna is going to happen in December. All things being good. So if you want details on that, it is on the QFOM Gray page. So maybe you guys would join us for Vienna. Okay, so we're just gonna dry that off and do that again. Yes, tweaking always makes a difference. Okay. So there we are. I'm going to put just a teeny bit more solder. What I did was I was adjusting it like so, just to bring the wires really nice and close. Okay. And put a teeny bit more solder on there. Okay, just like that. And I'm doing it from the back side so that the solder draws up through the joint. Heat the whole thing again. Gently. And then right at the joint, right there. There it is. Done. quench that baby. All right. So, not completely clear why this piece oxidized and this didn't. Except to say maybe it had more heat going on up there. But cool. All right. Throw that in the pickle. We'll make an adjustment on that inside wire, and then we're going to solder the setting on and put the bail on. So while that's happening in the pickle, we have a jump ring. I'm just going to go ahead and close that with some pliers, no big deal. Just like so for soldering. If you want to, just for fun, I'm sitting here just thinking out loud, you can make this into a more oblong bail if you like, instead of a round one. So let's see if I can do that and not pinch my fingers. Do I have... Okay, I know this is sort of screwy, but this is called using your tools. So I'm using my tube cutting plier here because it has a little bit of a different surface. See if I can make that a little bit oblong. This is optional. I'm just playing. It's not in the instructions. I just decided to change it up a little bit here. You know, it's live. I can do whatever I want. I'm being fluid about it. All right, let's pull this out of the pickle. Make sure I dry that again. Don't know why this is doing this way, but we're going to go with it. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and file those inside pieces just a little bit. Try not to file anything else but where you want to file. So be aware of your other pieces, right? You know, I'm going to get a needle file. So notice how I'm doing that, just filing the inside. Yes, I'm a double filer for those of you who are new here. Don't judge me. It works. There's nothing wrong with double filing. You can pull out your flex shaft if you want to use your flex shaft instead with a one of these discs. You can do that. It'll go a little faster for you. I'm switching over again because I just need to take off so much metal. I want this to go a little bit faster. Okay. There we are. Oops. All right, so I'm going to put this in here and see how we fit. Don't love it, so I'm actually, instead of filing, I'm going to go ahead and trim that just a little bit, because if you notice my angles are slightly different, right? And that is preventing me from making that. If I can get my cutters in there, and I can't. So all I'm left with is to file it. Doing this on the bench pin is probably a better thing than how I'm doing this. Just saying. I have a tendency to file a lot out here because instead of on my bench pin, honestly, it's about switching up the cameras. And switching the cameras is a little annoying. Okay, so you see the angles are a little bit better. And I need a little bit more off. Okay, so they look fairly even. I can do a little bit more off if I want, or I can make a different adjustment altogether, okay? Because it's a little bit too tight. What if I pulled out my bow opening pliers, stretch it out just a little bit? Another use for the bow opening pliers, if you don't have them, okay, so clearly, of course, I'm gonna adjust that too big. Yikes! But it's better than taking a pair of pliers and pulling apart like this. You have a lot more control with the bow opening pliers. So let's see, close it in just a tiny bit. There we go. So not everything happens easily. Sometimes you just need to keep making these little adjustments till you get it there. There we are. Until you're happy, okay? And I'm clearly not happy. Takes time. I mean, we're talking millimeters that I'm adjusting. So that's why you gotta really be gentle about what you're doing. So close. Okay, so I'm happy with that left side. This right side needs to come in just a little bit more. Again, if your hands aren't strong enough, that's where you're going to use your pliers. Oh yeah, so happy, so much happier. There it is. Nice connection, okay? So now we'll put it back on here. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit challenging because when you go to solder this, you have all these tiny little prong points, right? And you don't want to melt it. That's the problem. So you need to be really, really, really aware of what you're doing and where it's going. So here I'm going to switch out to medium solder, and we'll put some on each side, like so, and then on the other side, like so. There's too much here, I knew that. So I was going to split it between the two, put that down. There we are. Okay, so again, because you have these peculiar little prongs sticking up, you need to make sure that you heat everything else around it first, because this piece is so much smaller than the rest of the pendant, right? So let's go ahead and zoom in so you can see what's going on. So make sure you heat around it first and get everything hot. And you know, one thing that I notice when we're in classes, people heat around it like this. What is the point of that? Nothing. When we're heating around, we're not heating around the piece, outside of the piece, but we're heating on the piece, like so. Because we're just trying to get the metal hot, right? And then go right to the middle. See if you can get that to solder and that to solder. Just like so. I have a feeling that that left side didn't happen, but I'm going with it for now. Okay. Oh yeah, baby, it's on there. Okay, we're on there. There it is. I'm gonna pickle that, and then we'll put the bail on. So the bail can be put on in a lot of different ways. I'm going to go ahead and use my pumice today. I have that pickling. Okay. So while that's pickling, I forgot, I really do need to turn on the other camera. I forgot all about it. Yipes! Let's see if I can get that camera going here. Camera number 2, where are you? Okay, start that up. There we are. Okie dokie. Ooh, okay, we'll move it over here. All right, let's switch cameras. There we are. Let's check our pickle. Nice and clean. Wonderful. You can see there. Decide which end you want to be this end that goes up and which side is going down. So we're just going to go with this one. I'm going to stick it right in here like so. Why such a tiny bail? It's not that small, actually, because if you put it up on this piece, you can see it's not really that small. Actually, it's funny because I was thinking this is too big. Okay, it's all matter of perspective, and again, this is also personal preference, but I want to make sure that that is big enough so that the chain can go through. But so we're going to go ahead and solder this. Do not solder it this direction because you cannot put the chain through. We're going to solder it this direction, right? So several ways of doing this. Again, I'm going to stick this in here. To me, this is the easiest way to go. And I'm putting it to the side over here. You know what, let me get rid of a couple things here. All right, so this has to go this direction like so. If you cannot freehand it like I'm doing it, then set up a third hand to hold your jump ring, like something like that, okay? But for me, it is easiest just to put this like so. All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit of easy solder on here. Just like so. Okay. Can you see that? Just a teeny bit. And I'm going to heat this. I'm going to heat the pendant first, and then I'm going to bring the jump ring in. I know it's really hard to see because there's no contrast here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more for you. Oops, sorry. There we go. You can barely see that. I know. Let's not melt our mouse. All right, so I'm going to point it down and heat the pendant. I'm coming in right at the blue tip. Get nice and hot before I bring in the jump ring, because the jump ring will heat up pretty fast, and then the solder will flow to the jump ring before it flows to the pendant. That's why I'm doing that like so. And I'm not heating the jump ring like barely at all, because this is a really nice big bushy flame, and it should be more than enough to do the job. There it is. Yep. So you can see that there. It's a nice connection. Let me see if I can bring that up to the camera a little bit more. You see? It's a nice connection right there. Okay. Quench that baby. Check it with my hands. Oh, okay. I thought it was a nice connection, but it broke off. And you know what? We'll just stick it in and do it again. No big deal. I'm not even going to pickle it. It'll be fine. So I want just a hair more solder. There's solder on there, but I want just a little tiny bit more solder. you see that? Oh, there we go. Just a little bit more solder. Okay, get that nice and hot before you bring in the jump ring. You can put the solder on the pendant instead of on the jump ring. Either way, it works. And I'm heating that pendant. There you go. Okay. That really should have done it. Let's test it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pushing pretty hard. Okay, there it is. So not so small. I don't know if you can really see a perspective, but it's not really that small of a bail. Okay, so switch over again. Give me just a second here. All right, so you can see that there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pickle this, and that's it for today. We'll come back next week, set the stone, and polish, because I really haven't done too much on polishing and how we're going to get it to this nice brilliant shine and not just steel wool it. Yeah, I know. We'll take the time out to really polish it and get it there. Okay. Actually, here, I'll give you a final look at it so you know what you're heading for. For those of you who haven't gotten that kit yet and are thinking about it, this is basically where it's going to be. Let's see, where's my stone? It's going to look great next week. There it is. So once it's polished up, it's going to look real professional, and voila. Okay, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thanks for trusting me with the project. A surprise. Hopefully it has met your expectations. So again, we have 3 left. We have one citrine, 1 green amethyst, and 1 Brazilian amethyst. It's a little lighter amethyst. So if you are wanting to jump in and get the kit, we can do that. And let's see what's happening. So part 2 of the Secret Garden bracelet is on Friday for those of you who are registered. Otherwise, I will see everybody on Monday for Motley Metal, and we're doing the baubles project on Monday. So those are enameled beads there. Oh, all the inventory came in on the disc cutter. So excited about that. But there it is, $155 delivered. Don't know how long that's going to last, but while inventory is still available to us, we're going to keep doing that. So if you don't have a disc cutter, it's going to be great for the anniversary pendant. It'll make life a lot easier. You know, I never thought I wanted a disc cutter. Now I own 2, but I use it all the time. It's amazing what disc cutters will bring to you. Anyway, that said, have a great day. Have a great rest of the week. It's hump day. So we're going to get there. We're going to